If you want to start a small delivery business, most probably you must have seen that the prices for pickup trucks are now on the roof. People are now using maybe the Toyota Probox, but if your luggages are kind of big, you want something spacious, most probably you must have looked at the Toyota LITEACE or TownAce if you like, or these NISSAN NV200. Welcome to 026 Motoring once again. My name is Bill, and in this episode we are going to compare this NISSAN NV200 versus this Toyota LITEACE. So the comparison matrix will be basically reliability, fuel economy, practicality, and which one is value for money. So if you are new to this channel, we normally do car videos like this. We also help clients source clean cars in the Kenyan market. If you want to purchase a car, literally any car, you can actually ring us on the number below. We can actually give you information that will make your car ownership journey easy. You can also seek our services, matter sourcing. We normally source clean cars in the Kenyan market. We inspect them according to the customer specifications. When you're looking at these Toyota LITEACE, this one is a different version from what maybe many people know in the streets. The previous one used to be called the Nguruwe in the Kenyan streets. Of course, it used to be actually bigger than this one. Actually, even the engines were kind of different. The styling, it's a way totally different car. Actually, this one is sourced from Daihatsu. It's just a rebadged. So this is what replaced the Nguruwe. Now, when you're looking at this NISSAN NV200, this one, the predecessor was the Nissan Vanette, or in some versions it was actually rebadged and sold as the Mazda Bongo. Now, this one also has some differences from the predecessor. For example, here the engine is placed at a different location. The spacing is quite different. So let's compare the two. Now, if you are into delivery business, most probably or definitely how these cars look may not be a factor you can consider, but let's just say something about the looks. Let's start with this Toyota LITEACE. Coming from the previous generation, you realize that this nose is somewhat smaller. The reasoning is pretty simple. It's because for this LITEACE, the engine has now been moved from up front here. It's now below the driver and the co-driver seat. And when you're looking at the NISSAN NV200 coming from the Mazda Bongo or the former Vanette, this one has a longer nose, basically because the engine is now up front. That is actually the main difference why this one has a longer nose and this one has a shorter nose. Now, if you want something, maybe you want over the weekend, you want to use it as a private car, maybe to ferry your family to church, I think when looking at these two cars, the NV200 looks more appealing to me and presentable. Because when I'm looking at this car, actually, just like the Nissan Juke, this Toyota LITEACE has looks that only a mother can love. It's not presentable at all, especially when you have a Nissan NV200 on the table. But that's not important for someone who's into business. Let's look at the engines and the reliability of these two cars. Now, when you're in business, you need a car whose engine is reliable, something that you can fire up in the morning and it will not fail you, especially when you have a customer order pending. Now, under the hood of this Nissan Vanette NV200 is a 1600cc naturally aspirated petrol engine. It's married to a 5-speed manual transmission for this specific car, sending drive to the front wheels only. If you can't drive a manual transmission, there is no reason to be worried, because the Nissan NV200 can also be offered with a 4-speed automatic transmission. Alright, if you want maybe a diesel flavor, if your car will come from the European region, there is a 1.6 liter diesel. But because I have not interacted with that car for quite some time, the only thing I know is that it's more fuel efficient than this one. So I reserve my comments about it, or you can take my advice about that diesel with a pinch of salt. How about this Toyota LITEACE? The location of this, the engine in the Toyota LITEACE is not up front here, it's inside the car. For this Toyota LITEACE or TownAce if you like, it is powered actually by a 1500cc natural aspirated petrol engine. It's located below the driver and the co-driver seats, as you can see here, and it's normally called the 3SZ engine. For this specific car, it's married to a CVT gearbox, sending drive to the rear wheels. Actually, it's a rear wheel drive car. So the difference between these Toyota LITEACE and the Nissan NV200 is that this one is actually a rear wheel drive car, while the Nissan NV200 is a front wheel drive car. That has an impact, especially if you are living up country where roads are not good. In that regard, a rear wheel drive can actually be a liability, especially when it's not loaded, because the grip will be somewhat less on the rear side. Now, if you don't like CVT gearboxes, these Toyota LITEACE can also be offered with a 5-speed stick shift. That is if you like manual transmissions. So those are the engine flavors for this one. There is a less popular 1300cc petrol engine. Of course, I have not interacted with it that much, so I reserve my judgment about it. So let's talk about the reliability of the two cars now that you know the engine flavors for each of them. Speaking of reliability, the 3SZ engine paired with the automatic CVT gearbox is actually known to be a lemon. It has a heap of problems actually. The most common issue, of course, for this engine paired with the gearbox is overheating. It's actually an engine that I'll say struggles so much, and if you are in business, it's something that I'll not recommend, because it's not going to live that long, especially if you want something that is quite reliable. Because mostly I've seen many of the 3SZ engines are being overhauled, because when for example, you are rebuilding it, it won't last that long. So this is for the engine. If you thought that the badge up front, or if you are a badge worshipper, it's good learning that this car is not among one of the most reliable cars out there. How about the Nissan counterpart? Under the hood of this one is a 1.6 liter with a 5-speed manual transmission or a 4-speed automatic gearbox. Now, Nissans are known for troublesome or problematic gearboxes. That means if you know a thing or two about transmissions, then it means the 4-speed automatic gearbox paired with a 1.6 liter should be a reliable combo. But now this one has a 5-speed manual with a 1.6 liter petrol engine. That is a very good combination actually. So if you want something more reliable, this car actually outshines and completely outguns the Toyota LITEACE when it comes to reliability. Now, apart from reliability, maybe you may be looking at something like fuel economy. How do the two cars compare? Now, the 1.6 liter here with the manual gearbox or the automatic gearbox, when legally loaded, of course most of the people out there don't load their cars legally. When legally loaded and driven sensibly, should be able to give you like 12 to 13 kilometers per liter. Of course the manufacturer quotes more, but for a 7-year-old car, that is the realistic fuel figure. Now for the Toyota LITEACE, you can actually get slightly better, and it could be around 13.5 kilometers per liter, but that is dependent on the load and the driving. Now, because we have talked about the reliability and fuel economy of the two cars, in business you want something that can carry luggage. How do the two cars compare? Matters the loading capacity and the carrying space. Let's check out. The Nissan NV200 and the Toyota LITEACE actually have twin sliding doors. That is how you open them. Actually for this one, you can also open it that way. They are on both sides. For example, you've seen I've opened this one on the right, this one on the left. There is also another door on the other side. So it's quite easy loading the cars. For this Toyota LITEACE or TownAce, if you like, this room is actually pretty good, because the loading height is like 1.2 meters high, meaning it can actually be a practical van to carry your luggage for delivery. But when you're comparing this space to the Nissan NV200, it's good learning that this floor is somewhat lower. That means you have around 1.3 meters between this floor and the roof of this car. And because this car is somewhat wider than the Toyota LITEACE, that means it's more practical when it comes to the carrying capacity. So again, when it comes to the carrying capacity, even the loading capacity, as per the manufacturer claim, this one actually has a higher loading capacity than this one. So the Nissan NV200 still wins when it comes to the luggage hauling metric. Of course, looks don't matter in this segment, because these cars are as basic as they can be. Actually, they have zero technology, let me use that term, because everything here is actually very plain. But what I've really liked about this Nissan NV200, the seat here is actually pretty accommodative, and then even up front here you have more room than the Toyota TownAce, because because of the engine placement in the Toyota TownAce, you won't have this room you are seeing here between the driver and the co-driver. For the Toyota TownAce, actually you can even see that my knee room is actually limited in this van. There is not much room because of the engine placement. Here you can see you just have one cup holder here between the driver and the co-driver. Even the seat here doesn't feel as comfortable as the Nissan NV200. The price range for the NV200 and the Toyota LITEACE is actually in the same region because it's at 1.3 million shillings. Previously, like 2 years ago, the NV200 used to be slightly cheaper than the LITEACE, but that is not the case anymore because this one is actually, the demand for the NV200 has really shot up. So what car has better value for money? For me, as a car reviewer, the NV200 has completely ticked all the boxes someone in business will be looking for. While the previous generation of the Toyota TownAce or LITEACE, if you like, that is the Nguruwe version, was a good workhorse with tested and proven credentials when it comes to even the engine reliability, the loading capacity and the body strength. This new variant is a total flop. It's going to be a garage queen, something that someone who is in business won't be happy with it. Now for the NV200, it's equally capable as the previous generation, and it has really carried the day when it comes to this comparison. So if I was to award marks, I'll give this one more marks than this one, because the only metric that this one won in this comparison was slightly on fuel economy. I think this review will give you a little bit of insights if you are torn between this Toyota TownAce and this Nissan NV200. Let me know who's your winner between this Toyota TownAce and this Nissan NV200. See you on the next one, guys.